History is not always what we find in textbooks. Sometimes the ground itself gives up secrets that force us to rethink everything. This is a journey through 25 of the world's most puzzling archaeological discoveries. You will witness objects that defy explanation and ruins that challenge our entire timeline. We will explore an ancient Greek device considered the world's first computer and a manuscript written in a language no one can read. These are not just dusty relics, they are active mysteries that continue to baffle the brightest experts. If you stay until the end, you will gain a new perspective on how much of our past remains a complete enigma. What forgotten story do you hope is still waiting to be found? Our story begins at the bottom of the sea. In the year 1900, sponge divers off the coast of a small Greek island named Antikythera stumbled upon the silent wreck of a Roman cargo ship. Among the shattered statues and corroded artifacts recovered from the site was a lump of bronze and wood that seemed utterly unremarkable. It was only years later, when the crusted remains cracked apart, that the true marvel was revealed. Inside was a complex clockwork of interlocking bronze gears, some with fine teeth smaller than a grain of rice. This was the Antikythera Mechanism, a device so advanced it should not have existed for another 1,000 years. It was, in essence, an ancient Greek analog computer. By turning a hand crank on its side, a user could operate a sophisticated system of dials and pointers. This machine could predict the movements of the sun and moon, show the phases of our lunar neighbor, and even forecast upcoming eclipses. It modeled the irregular orbit of the moon with stunning accuracy and tracked the cycles of the ancient Olympic Games. The sheer sophistication of its engineering suggests a level of scientific knowledge that history had completely forgotten. Who built this intricate device, and what other genius inventions were lost to the depths of time? Even today, the Antikythera Mechanism refuses to give up all its secrets. The central debate rages on about its brilliant but anonymous creator. Was it the work of the legendary Archimedes in Syracuse, or perhaps a genius from the school of Posidonius on Rhodes? We simply do not know. The device stands as a ghost in the machine of history, a lone survivor from what must have been a tradition of sophisticated craftsmanship and astronomical knowledge. Modern technology has only deepened the mystery. High-resolution, three-dimensional X-ray scanning has recently peered inside the corroded gears without causing any damage. These advanced scans uncovered thousands of previously hidden text characters, a kind of ancient user manual etched into the bronze. The inscriptions reveal the mechanism did not just track the sun and moon. It also displayed the positions of the 5 planets known to the Greeks, a feat of planetary engineering that is staggeringly complex. This was not merely a calculator. It was a portable cosmos, a philosophical device that demonstrated a universe governed by predictable, interlocking laws. How could such a profound understanding of mechanics and the heavens simply vanish from history for over a millennium? The Antikythera Mechanism is a powerful reminder that our timeline of scientific progress is likely full of forgotten genius and lost revolutions. A similar ghost haunts the world of rare books. In 1912, a Polish book dealer named Wilfred Voynich acquired a strange manuscript from a collection in Italy. The book was instantly baffling. Its pages were filled from edge to edge with a flowing, unknown script, a language that has never been identified. Alongside the text were intricate illustrations that only deepened the mystery. There were detailed drawings of plants that do not exist anywhere on Earth, their roots and leaves forming impossible botanical hybrids. Other pages showed naked women bathing in elaborate green pools connected by intricate plumbing, and complex astrological charts filled with unfamiliar constellations. This is the Voynich Manuscript, and it remains the most famous unread book in the world. For over a century, the finest minds in cryptography and linguistics have tried to crack its code. Military code breakers from both world wars who successfully deciphered enemy communications have applied their skills and failed. Modern computer scientists have run complex statistical analyses on the text, searching for patterns that would reveal a hidden language. The results are always the same. The manuscript structure has the statistical properties of a real, natural language, yet it defies every attempt at translation. Is it an elaborate hoax, a coded scientific treatise, or the product of a unique and lost culture? The book sits in a Yale University library vault, a silent testament to a secret we have not yet earned the right to understand. What profound knowledge or delightful nonsense is locked within its pages? Deep within the jungles of Costa Rica lie objects that seem to defy the very tools that made them. Scattered across the Diquis Delta are hundreds of stone spheres, some as small as a baseball, others larger than a car and weighing over 15 tons. Crafted from a hard igneous rock called gabbro, these spheres are unnervingly perfect. Their surfaces are incredibly smooth, and their shapes are so precisely spherical that their measurements often show almost no deviation. They were created by a pre-Columbian people over 1,000 years ago, a culture that left no written records behind. The first modern discovery of these spheres came in the 1930s as the United Fruit Company cleared land for banana plantations. Workers, baffled by the objects they unearthed, even dynamited some, foolishly hoping to find gold inside. The true mystery is not just how they were made, but why. The effort required to shape such hard stone with nothing but other stones and sand is almost unimaginable. Archaeologists theorize that the makers likely used a combination of controlled heating with fire and rapid cooling with water to fracture the large boulders. Then, for the final shaping, they would have painstakingly hammered and ground the surfaces with tools of the same hard stone, achieving that impossible smoothness over generations of patient labor. But what drove them to such an obsessive, monumental task? Some of the larger spheres have been found arranged in alignments that correspond to astronomical events, pointing to the solstices or equinoxes. Were they a colossal calendar, a map of the stars, or perhaps markers of power and status for chieftains? They could have been territorial boundaries or even representations of celestial bodies, creating a sacred landscape on Earth. Without a cultural key to unlock their meaning, the silent, perfect stones remain a profound geometrical puzzle. They are a testament to a forgotten society's dedication to precision and beauty, a mystery carved in stone and waiting under the tropical sun. High above the arid plains of southern Peru, an even more colossal mystery is etched into the very skin of the desert. The Nazca lines are hundreds of enormous geoglyphs, giant figures carved into the rocky ground by the ancient Nazca people between 500 BC and 500 CE. These are not small carvings. Some of the straight lines run for miles, perfectly straight across broken terrain. Others form immense shapes, a hummingbird with wings outstretched, a spider, a monkey with a coiled tail. The sheer scale is what defies belief. You can stand right beside one of these lines and see nothing but a groove in the earth. It is only from the vantage point of the sky that the full, breathtaking images snap into focus. This fact is the core of their enduring puzzle. A culture that had no knowledge of flight created art that could only be truly seen by the gods, or so it would seem. How did they achieve such precision and scale without being able to check their work from above? The method was deceptively simple, yet required incredible planning. The Nazca people carefully removed the top layer of dark, sun-baked pebbles to reveal the lighter-colored sand beneath. The desert climate is so dry and stable that these shallow excavations have remained visibly intact for over 2,000 years. But the why is a far more complex question. Were these lines a massive astronomical calendar, their shapes and directions pointing to celestial events on the horizon? Some researchers believe they were sacred pathways, walked by priests during vital rituals to plead for water from the infrequent rains. Perhaps they were offerings to deities who they believed watched from the heavens. The most poignant theory suggests they were prayers made visible, a desperate and beautiful communication with the gods of a harsh and unforgiving landscape. Whatever their purpose, the lines are a testament to a civilization that moved mountains of stone to send a message we are still struggling to read. Who were they trying to reach with these magnificent, earth-spanning drawings? For thousands of years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has stood as a monument to what we think we know about the ancient world. We believed its final secrets had been mapped, its last chambers opened. But the stone itself was hiding something. In 2017, an international team of scientists made a stunning announcement. Using a revolutionary technique called muon tomography, they had discovered a massive, hidden void deep within the pyramid's heart. This was not a small crack or a builder's gap. This was a chamber or perhaps a corridor stretching for at least 30 meters, a space large enough to house a commercial airliner. It lay directly above the pyramid's grand gallery, completely inaccessible and unknown for 45 centuries. Muon tomography works by using cosmic rays. These are subatomic particles that constantly rain down from space, passing through solid objects much like X-rays, but with far greater penetrating power. By placing special detectors inside the pyramid, the team could measure how many of these muons passed through the stone. A significant drop in the count indicated a large, empty space, a hidden room. This was not treasure hunting. This was a profound scientific revelation, proving that the world's most studied ancient structure still held monumental secrets. Why would the pyramid's builders go to such incredible lengths to construct a chamber of that size, only to seal it off so perfectly that no hint of its existence remained? The possibilities are tantalizing. Could this void be the final resting place of the pharaoh Khufu, whose mummy has never been found? The known sarcophagus in the king's chamber is empty, leading many to believe his true burial was hidden elsewhere. Or is it a construction gap, a clever architectural solution to relieve the immense weight of stone above the grand gallery? Perhaps it is a sealed repository, filled not with gold, but with the original building tools, architectural plans, or ritual objects meant to remain hidden for eternity. The very existence of this void challenges our fundamental understanding of the pyramid's purpose and design. It whispers that our maps of this ancient wonder are incomplete, that its true story is still sealed in stone, waiting for a way in. There is a quiet clay pot in a museum in Baghdad that holds a thunderous secret. It is an unassuming artifact, a 13-centimeter tall jar of bright yellow ceramic dating back to the Parthian period around 2,000 years ago. Inside this jar, archaeologists found a copper cylinder fixed in place with asphalt, and within that cylinder an iron rod. The assembly was uncanny. It looked for all the world like a primitive electric battery. If the jar was filled with an acidic liquid like vinegar or wine, it would have created a chemical reaction between the two different metals. This reaction would have generated a small but measurable electric current, around 1 volt of electricity. The implications are staggering. Did a civilization that existed centuries before the Common Era somehow stumble upon the principles of electrochemistry? The most compelling theory is that this power was used for electroplating, the process of using electricity to coat a common metal like copper with a thin layer of a precious metal like gold. Artisans could have connected several of these jars together to create a stronger current, allowing them to gild small objects, creating the stunning gold-accented artifacts we find from that era. This would rewrite the history of technology, suggesting a spark of electrical knowledge that flickered and died long before it was rediscovered. Yet many archaeologists remain deeply skeptical. They argue the device could have had a much simpler, purely religious purpose. The jar may have been a sacred vessel for storing important scrolls, made of precious materials like copper and iron to denote their value. The asphalt seal would have perfectly preserved the scrolls from moisture, a far more likely explanation for an ancient culture. Without a wire, without a clear electrical load, the battery theory remains in the realm of captivating speculation. This humble clay pot therefore poses a profound question. Are we looking at a forgotten scientific instrument, or are we simply projecting our modern understanding onto an ancient relic, seeing a battery where its maker saw only a container for holy text? The truth is still held within that silent jar, a circuit that history has not yet closed. Buried beneath a Scottish field for over half a century lies a different kind of map, one not of the stars but perhaps of the spirit. The Kochno stone is a massive slab of sandstone nearly 13 meters long, and its surface is a breathtaking tapestry of ancient art. Dating back around 5,000 years, it is covered in more than 100 intricate carvings known as cup and ring marks. These are precisely carved circular grooves and small, hemispherical depressions that swirl and interconnect across the rock in a mesmerizing, cryptic pattern. When it was fully excavated in the 1930s, the sheer scale and complexity of the design stunned archaeologists. It was clearly a work of profound importance, but its meaning was as opaque as the stone itself. Was this a celestial chart mapping out constellations for a society that looked to the heavens for guidance? Some researchers see a representation of the cosmos, with the cups marking individual stars and the connecting rings illustrating their relationships. Others propose a far more spiritual purpose. The stone might have been a sacred portal, a boundary marker between our world and the underworld, where rituals were performed to communicate with ancestors or deities. The grooves could have held offerings of blood, milk, or grain, their channels carrying these sacrifices into the earth. There is even a theory that the designs are a form of prehistoric psychedelic art, inspired by patterns seen in trance states. The truth is, we may never know the single purpose, as it likely held layers of meaning for the people who created it. Faced with this irreplaceable puzzle and the very modern threat of vandalism, archaeologists made a difficult decision. After a brief period of study, they reburied the entire stone with earth in 1965, protecting its mysterious markings from damage and graffiti. It now sleeps under a green field, a 5,000-year-old message waiting for a future generation that might finally have the key to understand its story. What knowledge was so vital that it had to be carved in stone for eternity, yet so sacred that it was ultimately returned to the earth for safekeeping? While some mysteries are carved into the surface of the earth, others are excavated from deep within it. In the Chinese province of Zhejiang, a series of caverns known as the Longyu Caves presents an engineering puzzle of almost mythical proportions. Discovered by accident in 1992 by a local farmer pumping water from what he thought was a small pond, these are not natural formations. They are a colossal, man-made underworld. 24 separate caverns were revealed, each one an immense, hollowed-out space supported by massive, sculpted pillars. The scale is almost incomprehensible. The largest of these caves covers an area of over 12,000 square meters, with ceilings soaring as high as a 10-story building. Every single surface of the walls, the pillars, the soaring ceilings, is uniformly covered in precise, parallel chisel marks. This deliberate, decorative pattern indicates that an army of workers did not just dig these caves out for functional purposes. They finished them with an artistic flourish, a signature of immense effort and pride. The sheer volume of rock removed is staggering, estimated at nearly 1 million cubic meters of solid stone. And this leads to one of the most baffling aspects of the entire site. Where did all that stone go? 1 million cubic meters of excavated rock would form a small mountain of its own, yet there is no trace of this immense debris pile anywhere in the surrounding landscape. It simply vanished. The historical silence is just as profound. No written record, no local legend, not a single shred of evidence from any dynasty mentions the construction of this monumental project. The caves are carbon dated to a period over 2,000 years ago, yet they are an archaeological ghost, who commanded such a vast undertaking and for what possible reason. The labor involved is almost unimaginable. Even with a massive workforce using iron tools, the carving would have taken decades, perhaps even centuries, of continuous, organized effort. Were they a secret imperial tomb complex that was never used, a hidden quarry for a city that was never built, or perhaps a subterranean refuge for an entire population, a secret kept so well that its very memory was lost to time? The parallel chisel marks sweep across the walls in silent, endless waves, a rhythm of labor without a story, a monumental achievement with no one left to claim it. High in the Andes, another stone wall stands as a testament to an entirely different kind of genius. The fortress of Sacsayhuaman, which overlooks the ancient Inca capital of Cusco, is built from stones that defy logic. These are not simple, rectangular blocks. They are massive, irregular polygons, some weighing over 100 tons, each one a unique, multi-angled puzzle piece. And they fit together so perfectly that the seams between them have become legendary. For centuries, visitors have tried to slip a piece of paper or even a razor blade into the cracks, and they have universally failed. The joints are so tight, so immaculately planned, that the walls appear to be a single, continuous rock formation that has been melted and fused together. The sheer scale of the stones makes the precision even more bewildering. How did a culture without iron tools, without the wheel, without mortar, achieve such an impossible fit? The lost technique remains one of archaeology's greatest practical puzzles. The leading theory suggests that the Inca stonemasons were masterful trial and error engineers. They likely shaped the blocks by pecking at them with harder stones, gradually grinding the surfaces against each other. Imagine a process where a massive block was roughly shaped, then repeatedly lowered onto its neighbor. The points of highest contact would be marked, painstakingly ground down, and the process repeated over and over for a single stone. This would have been a symphony of patience, a project spanning generations where the final, perfect fit was achieved not with a single blueprint but through relentless, incremental adjustment. Some local legends even speak of a plant that could soften stone, allowing the builders to mold the rocks like clay, though no evidence for such a substance has ever been found. The true purpose of these walls adds another layer to the mystery. While called a fortress, the zigzagging walls also align precisely with astronomical events, catching the sun's rays during solstices in a dramatic display of light and shadow. This was not merely a defensive structure, it was a ceremonial center, a calendar, and a statement of power carved directly into the mountain. The walls of Sacsayhuaman are more than a ruin. They are a permanent question, asking us how a society we consider ancient could manipulate the very bones of the earth with a precision that our own technology would struggle to replicate. What profound understanding of geometry, material, and collective effort has been lost to us, preserved only in the silent, seamless embrace of these colossal stones? A different kind of precision, one etched on parchment instead of stone, raises equally profound questions about lost knowledge. In the Topkapi Palace Library in Istanbul rests a map drawn in 1513 by an Ottoman admiral and cartographer named Piri Reis. At first glance, it is a fascinating, if somewhat crude, chart of the known world, but a closer look at its southern edge reveals a coastline that should not exist. This landmass, according to the map's own annotations, depicts a warm, temperate shore where sailors reported seeing strange, hairy monsters. Modern analysis has identified this land as the Queen Maud Land region of Antarctica. The impossible part is that Antarctica has been buried under a sheet of ice for millions of years. The coastline Piri Reis drew is not the frozen, glacial outline we know today, but a rendering of the continent as it would appear if it were ice-free, a shape that has been hidden from human eyes for at least 12,000 years. So how did a 16th century Ottoman admiral map a continent that would not be officially discovered for another 300 years? The map's own notes provide a tantalizing clue. Piri Reis wrote that he compiled his work from many source maps, including some that dated back to the time of Alexander the Great. He claimed to have consulted what he called the maps of the ancients. This suggests he was copying from far older documents, charts that may have been copied and recopied for centuries, preserving geographic knowledge from a time before the great ice sheets advanced. The theory is that an ancient seafaring civilization with advanced cartographic skills mapped the world, including an ice-free Antarctica, and fragments of their knowledge survived in libraries like the one in Alexandria. These fragments were then scattered and copied by later scholars, eventually finding their way into the hands of Piri Reis. Skeptics, however, offer a more conservative explanation. They argue that the southern landmass is simply a speculative addition, a cartographer's guess that accidentally resembles Antarctica. It could be a distorted version of the southern tip of South America, or a fictional great southern continent that many mapmakers of the era included to balance their world maps. The fact that the map is drawn using a complex, now lost projection method only deepens the mystery. The debate over the Piri Reis map is a clash between two worldviews. One sees it as a miraculous relic, a smoking gun proving that a sophisticated global civilization was wiped from memory by some cataclysm. The other sees a remarkable coincidence, a testament to human imagination rather than ancient exploration. The map sits in its museum case, a silent and fragile piece of skin, asking us a simple, haunting question. Did our ancestors know more about the shape of our world than we have ever given them credit for? The silent stones of Gobekli Tepe in Turkey whisper a story that upends our deepest assumptions about human history. This sprawling complex of carved limestone pillars is not just old, it is staggeringly ancient, predating Stonehenge by a full 6,000 years. What makes it truly revolutionary is who built it. This was not the work of a settled farming society, but of nomadic hunter-gatherers. The site consists of multiple circular enclosures, each one defined by massive T-shaped monoliths, some weighing over 10 tons. These pillars are not blank. They are covered in exquisite high-relief carvings of animals, a menagerie of foxes, scorpions, lions, and vultures, their forms sharp and powerful in the stone. This discovery shatters the long-held narrative of the Neolithic Revolution, which posited that agriculture came first, providing the food surplus that allowed people to settle down and develop complex society, religion, and monumental architecture. Gobekli Tepe turns that sequence completely on its head. Here, it appears the drive to build a temple, to create a communal sacred space, may have been the very catalyst that spurred humanity to invent farming. Why would hunter-gatherers commit to such a back-breaking, generation-spanning task? The most compelling theory is that these enclosures were a ritual center, a place where scattered bands came together for shared ceremonies. Sustaining a large workforce carving and erecting these stones would have required a reliable food source beyond just hunting and foraging. The need to feed the builders of the world's first known temple may have been the original incentive to domesticate wild grains and animals. In this light, civilization did not create religion. Perhaps religion created civilization. The site was deliberately buried around 8000 BC, filled in with earth and stone as if to preserve it for eternity, leaving a question carved in stone for 12 millennia. What profound shift in human consciousness compelled these people to abandon their nomadic ways and unite to raise these colossal pillars to the sky? A different kind of artifact seems to defy not just our understanding of history, but the very timeline of life on Earth. In the summer of 1936, near the small town of London, Texas, a couple walking along a creek bed made a bizarre discovery. Protruding from a large, solid piece of limestone rock was what appeared to be the handle of a hammer. When they broke the rock open, they found a complete, if corroded, iron hammerhead fitted onto a wooden handle. The rock itself was dated to the Cretaceous period, a time over 100 million years ago, an era when dinosaurs roamed the land. This was the London hammer, an object that by all conventional logic should not exist. It looks for all the world like a modern tool encased in stone that formed in an age before humans, let alone blacksmiths, had evolved. For those who champion it as an out-of-place artifact or OOP art, it is undeniable proof that an advanced civilization, or perhaps even visitors from elsewhere, walked the earth in the deep past. The implications are staggering, suggesting our entire model of human technological development is profoundly wrong. How could a man-made object become sealed inside rock that is millions of years old? The scientific explanation, however, offers a more grounded, though still fascinating, story. Geologists point out that the specific type of rock in question, a concretion known as the Cretaceous Glen Rose Formation, is not a solid, primordial stone layer. Concretions form when mineral cement precipitates and hardens around a nucleus, which can be a fossil, a shell, or in this case, a lost hammer. This process can happen relatively quickly in geological terms, over centuries, not millennia. The hammer, they argue, was likely a miner's or prospector's tool from the 19th century that was dropped or left behind. Over time, the highly mineralized water in the creek caused a hard, stone-like concretion to form around it, giving the illusion that the hammer was as ancient as the surrounding bedrock. The wooden handle, while old, was not mineralized and had even begun to coalify, a process consistent with being a few hundred years old, not 100 million. So the London hammer stands at a crossroads between two worldviews. Is it a miraculous relic that rewrites history, or is it a perfect example of how natural processes can create an illusion of impossibility? The hammer now rests in a museum, a simple tool that forces us to ask a difficult question. When we find something that does not fit our story of the past, do we question the story, or do we look more closely at the object itself? It is a testament to our deep desire to find evidence of the impossible, and a reminder that nature itself is the greatest artist of all, capable of crafting mysteries that challenge our perception of time. Isolated in the vast expanse of the Pacific Ocean, Easter Island is a monument to both grand ambition and profound mystery. The island is synonymous with the Stoic Moai, the nearly 900 massive stone figures gazing inland. But the popular image of these giants as mere heads is a trick of perspective. Many of these statues are in fact complete bodies, buried up to their shoulders by centuries of soil and sediment. Excavations have revealed torsos, arms, and hands resting delicately on hips, with intricate carvings of crescent-shaped tattoos and ceremonial belts tracing their backs. They stand with their backs to the sea, eternal watchmen over the clans that carved them. The true puzzle is not just how these figures, some weighing over 80 tons, were carved from solid volcanic tuff. It is how they were moved miles across the island's rugged terrain to their final ceremonial platforms, known as ahu. Oral traditions speak of the statues walking, a poetic clue that led to a compelling modern theory. Experiments have shown that a team of people could rock a moai from side to side, using ropes to create a walking, shuffling motion, effectively making the colossal statue walk itself to its destination. This method, while plausible, would have been a perilous dance requiring perfect coordination and immense manpower for each and every statue. But the moai were not considered complete until they received their final crowning piece, the pukao. These massive cylinders of red volcanic scoria, weighing up to 12 tons, were balanced precariously on the heads of the moai. Were these top knots meant to be hair tied in a traditional bun? Or were they ceremonial hats signifying rank and status? Their placement on such great heights remains a feat that seems to defy the capabilities of a society with no cranes or complex machinery. The most haunting mystery, however, is the silence that followed the island's fervent activity. The society that achieved these incredible engineering feats ultimately collapsed, leaving quarries filled with unfinished moai, some still attached to the bedrock. Was it environmental devastation as the islanders cut down every last palm tree for rollers and ropes? Was it resource wars between clans or the arrival of foreign diseases? The fallen Moai tell a story of a civilization that reached for the sky only to have the ground vanish from beneath its feet. What drove them to such a monumental, all-consuming task, and what final, desperate event caused them to walk away from their gods, leaving them half-born in the stone? Far to the east, in the remote Bayan Karaula Mountains on the border between China and Tibet, a story emerged that seemed ripped from the pages of science fiction. In 1938, a Chinese archaeologist named Kai Pu-te was exploring a series of high mountain caves when he made a bizarre discovery. Within the caverns, he found neat rows of graves containing the skeletons of a strange, diminutive people. These beings were only a little over 4 feet tall, with abnormally large, elongated skulls that did not match any known human ancestry. Scattered throughout the burial site were hundreds of stone discs, each one roughly 9 inches in diameter. A hole was carved directly through the center of each disc, and a fine, double-grooved spiral ran from that center hole all the way out to the rim. These were the Dropa stones. The discs were initially catalogued and stored away, considered nothing more than unusual prehistoric artifacts for over 2 decades. Then, in 1962, a professor named Tsoom Nui allegedly made a world-shattering claim. After painstaking study, he declared that the grooves were not decorative at all. They were, in fact, a form of microscopic hieroglyphic writing. The story he translated from the tiny, etched script was nothing short of incredible. It told of a spacecraft that crash-landed in the mountains 12,000 years ago. The survivors, a people who called themselves the Dropa, were unable to repair their vessel and became stranded on Earth. The local Ham tribespeople initially feared them, but over time, the 2 groups reportedly made peace. The stones were said to be their recorded history, a permanent testament to their tragic journey and their struggle to survive on an alien world. This interpretation suggested that the skeletons in the cave were not human, but the remains of these ancient interstellar travelers. This narrative, of course, is met with overwhelming skepticism from the scientific community. Critics point to a complete lack of physical evidence. The original stones cannot be produced for modern analysis, and the skeletons have vanished. The very existence of Professor Tsoom Nui is itself in doubt, as his name does not conform to standard Chinese naming conventions and no academic records of his work can be found. The entire tale is built on a foundation of unverifiable claims and sensationalized magazine articles from the 1960s. The most likely explanation is that the Dropa stones are a complex modern hoax, or perhaps a genuine archaeological find that has been wildly misinterpreted and embellished over time. They could be common by, which are ancient Chinese ceremonial stone discs, and the story of the hieroglyphics a complete fabrication, yet the legend endures. It taps into a deep and universal question. In the vastness of time, is it possible that our world was visited by others, and that the only evidence left is a story carved in stone waiting in a forgotten cave? The Dropa stones remain a powerful cultural artifact, not of a lost alien race, but of our own enduring desire to believe that we are not alone in the cosmos. Beneath the clear, blue waters off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island lies a site that seems to challenge the very divide between nature and human artistry. Discovered in the 1980s by a local diver, the Yonaguni Monument is a colossal sandstone structure that rises from the seafloor like a sunken ziggurat. Its sharp, clean edges form what appear to be massive terraces, perfect right angles, and even staircases that climb its steep faces. The entire formation is immense, stretching over 150 meters long and 50 meters wide, a haunting underwater citadel. The central question is as profound as the Pacific is deep. Are we looking at a masterpiece of natural geology, shaped by millennia of ocean currents and tectonic shifts? Or are these the ruins of a civilization so ancient that it was swallowed by the sea when sea levels rose at the end of the last ice age, over 10,000 years ago? The debate hinges on the uncanny precision of its features. Proponents of the man-made theory point to the two monolithic pillars that seem strategically placed to support a ceiling, the perfectly straight, meter-wide channel that runs along the base, and the triangular pool carved into the rock. They argue that such symmetrical, repetitive forms are the hallmarks of intelligent design, not random erosion. Could this be a ceremonial platform, a fortress, or even the remnants of the lost continent of Mu, a Pacific counterpart to Atlantis? The alternative view, offered by many geologists, is that the monument is a spectacular example of a natural phenomenon. The sandstone in this region is known to fracture along sharp, horizontal and vertical planes, especially when subjected to the powerful seismic activity common to Japan. The stairsteps could be the result of layers of rock shearing off along these natural fault lines, while the so-called carvings are simply the marks of marine creatures boring into the stone. The entire structure, they suggest, is a beautiful, convincing illusion, a trick of the mind seeking pattern and purpose in the random forces of nature. Yet the illusion is persistent, lying at a depth where it would have been on dry land during the last glacial maximum. The monument occupies a timeline that is tantalizingly plausible for a forgotten human culture. The debate over Yonaguni forces us to confront a fundamental question about our past. When we gaze upon an ancient and mysterious shape, are we seeing the ghost of a lost civilization, or are we seeing our own profound need to find meaning etched into the stone of the world? Carved into the dark stone of a crypt within the Hathor temple at Dendera is a relief that seems to flicker with an impossible glow. It shows two massive figures holding up what looks unmistakably like a giant, transparent light bulb. Inside this bulb coils a snake in a straight line, its head touching the tip of a long, spear-like object held by a kneeling god. A cable, thick and patterned, appears to run from the base of this bulb and connect to a box which is supported by a pillar shaped like the lotus flower. The entire scene has been interpreted by some as a clear depiction of ancient electrical technology, a functioning light bulb from the age of the pharaohs. This is the so-called Dendera light. The theory suggests the snake represents the glowing filament, the spear is the socket, the bulb is the glass envelope, and the cable and box are the power source, perhaps a version of the Baghdad Battery. It is a compelling and visually striking argument that the Egyptians might have harnessed a form of electric light, illuminating their deep, windowless tombs and temples with a steady, brilliant flame. How else, proponents ask, could they have painted and carved with such precision in the absolute, suffocating darkness of sealed underground chambers? The mainstream Egyptological explanation, however, paints a very different yet equally fascinating picture. Egyptologists identify the scene as a representation of a foundational creation myth. The bulb is not a bulb at all, but a giant lotus flower, a symbol of birth and regeneration. The snake emerging from it is the serpent god Harsomptus, representing the primeval life force coming into being. The spear is the lotus stem itself, the pillar of the world. The entire tableau is a symbolic illustration of the moment of creation, the emergence of light and life from the dark waters of chaos, not a technical diagram for generating electricity. The cable is interpreted as a ritualistic serpent cord or a stylized root system, connecting the scene to other divine elements. This interpretation is grounded in a deep understanding of Egyptian iconography, where similar motifs of serpents in boats and lotus flowers are found consistently in religious contexts. So are we looking at a forgotten piece of advanced technology or a profound spiritual allegory? The answer may lie not in choosing one over the other, but in understanding the power of the symbol. For the ancient Egyptians, the divine was a tangible force. The act of creation was not a metaphor, but a real, cosmic event that could be ritually reenacted. The Dendera relief, then, is a different kind of light, not an electric one, but a sacred one. It is a permanent stone prayer, capturing the moment the world was first illuminated, a light that never goes out. Scattered across the rolling hills of northern Laos lies a landscape that feels both ancient and alien. Here, the Xiankong Plateau is studded with thousands of colossal stone jars, hewn from solid rock and standing up to 10 feet tall. These are not delicate urns but immense, rough-hewn containers, some weighing several tons, scattered in clusters of a few to several hundred. Their open mouths gape toward the sky, silent and purposeless. They date back to the Iron Age, over 1,000 years ago, yet their true function remains one of Southeast Asia's most enduring riddles. Local legend offers a poetic, if mythical, explanation. The stories speak of a race of ancient giants who once inhabited this land. These giants, the tales say, were mighty warriors and kings who required vast quantities of a fermented rice beverage to celebrate their victories. The jars, according to this lore, were their enormous brewing vats and drinking vessels. It is a charming story that gives the site its name, the Plain of Jars, but archaeology points to a more solemn purpose. Excavations around the jars have uncovered human remains, burial goods, and ceramic pots containing bones. This strongly suggests the jars were part of an elaborate funerary practice. Perhaps they were used for excarnation, a process where bodies were placed inside the jars to be exposed to the elements, allowing the flesh to decompose before the bones were collected for a final burial. Or maybe they served as massive, communal tombs for entire families or clans, their ashes mingling together for eternity. Yet, the most haunting mystery of the Plain of Jars is not its ancient past, but its very modern danger. During the Vietnam War, this region of Laos became the most heavily bombed place on Earth per capita. Millions of cluster bomblets were dropped, and a staggering number failed to explode on impact. Today, these unexploded ordnance lie hidden in the grass and soil around the jars, a deadly legacy that has killed or maimed countless locals and severely restricts archaeological access. Research teams must be accompanied by bomb disposal experts, and vast sections of the plain remain completely uncharted, their secrets guarded by landmines. This creates a heartbreaking paradox. The jars hold the key to understanding a lost culture, but the risk of retrieving that key is mortal. What stories do the most remote and dangerous clusters of jars hold? They sit in a silent, perilous limbo, monuments to the dead that are still claiming the lives of the living. A different kind of message for the future was carved not in ancient stone but in modern granite. In 1980, a set of towering slabs appeared in a field in Elbert County, Georgia. Known as the Georgia Guidestones, this monument stood nearly 20 feet tall, its 6 granite panels arranged with astronomical precision to track the sun and mark the solstices and equinoxes. But it was the message, not the architecture, that captivated and disturbed the world. The stones were inscribed with 10 guides for humanity, translated into 8 of the world's most spoken languages. These directives ranged from the noble, like calling for humanity to be guided by reason, to the deeply controversial, such as an admonition to maintain the world's population under 500 million people. The identity of the people behind this project was a secret carefully guarded from the very beginning. The monument was commissioned by a man using the pseudonym R.C. Christian, who claimed to represent a small group of loyal Americans. He paid for the project in full with cash and provided detailed architectural plans, but his true identity and the group's motives remained shrouded in mystery. For decades, the Guidestones stood as a granite Rorschach test. Some saw them as a blueprint for a new, rational age, a hopeful guide for rebuilding civilization after a potential collapse. Others viewed them with deep suspicion, interpreting the population control message as a dark, elitist vision for a depopulated world. This polarization made the stones a target. In 2022, the monument was severely vandalized, with one of the pillars being completely toppled. Later that same year, the entire structure was demolished by the county authorities for safety reasons, leaving only the foundation behind. The sudden erasure of the Guidestones was as enigmatic as their creation. Were they destroyed to silence a dangerous ideology or to protect the public from a target of unrest? The anonymous sponsors never came forward to explain or defend their vision. The Georgia Guidestones now exist primarily as photographs and fierce debate, a modern mystery that asked profound questions about our future, only to be violently removed from the landscape before we could agree on the answers. What does it say about our own time that a message carved for posterity could not survive the passions of the present? These Tartaria tablets are small, unassuming objects of baked clay, discovered in 1961 in a Neolithic grave in Romania. What makes them monumental is the script etched onto their surfaces, a series of angular, repetitive symbols that look nothing like the decorative patterns found on other artifacts from that time and place. To some researchers, these are not mere decorations. They appear to be a structured, symbolic script, a system for recording language. The truly explosive claim is their age. They have been dated to around 5,300 BCE, which would make them centuries older than the earliest known Sumerian cuneiform tablets from Mesopotamia. If authentic, this would rip up the traditional map of human history. The cradle of writing would not be in the Middle East, but in the forests of the Balkans, a discovery that would redefine the dawn of civilization itself. Could a complex society with written language have flourished in Europe long before the great cities of the ancient Near East even began? The academic debate over these tablets is as fierce as any in archaeology. The evidence for their authenticity is tantalizing but thin. The symbols are unique and have never been fully deciphered, leading skeptics to argue they are simply the personal marks of a potter or ritual symbols with no linguistic meaning. The fact that they were found in a single burial with no other corroborating examples from the region makes them a statistical anomaly. How could a full writing system appear in one isolated spot and then vanish without a trace? Proponents counter that all revolutionary finds are anomalies until more evidence is uncovered. They point to the deliberate arrangement of the symbols in rows, a hallmark of true writing, and the clear effort to create a permanent record on a durable medium. The debate often becomes deeply personal, a clash between established paradigms and the possibility of a completely new historical narrative. The Tartaria tablets sit at the heart of this storm, a handful of clay that asks a colossal question. Did writing begin not in the sun-baked river valleys we have always studied, but in the cool, deep shadows of prehistoric Europe, its story lost to time and waiting for its code to be cracked? The past often presents us with faces we struggle to recognize. In the dust of ancient Mesopotamia, archaeologists unearthed a collection of terracotta figurines that defy simple explanation. These are the Ubaid lizardmen, artifacts from the Ubaid period around 7,000 years ago, long before the rise of Sumerian city-states. The figurines are haunting in their detail. They have fully humanoid bodies, often in dynamic poses like holding a tool or breastfeeding an infant, but their heads are entirely, unmistakably reptilian. They feature long, tapered snouts, slitted eyes, and the subtle ridges of scaled skin. These are not crude carvings. They are carefully sculpted figures with personality and presence, depicting a culture that intimately blended the human form with the features of a lizard. The immediate question is inescapable. What were these figures meant to represent? The most widely accepted theory places them within the realm of shamanistic ritual. In many early cultures, spiritual leaders would wear animal masks during ceremonies to invoke the power and attributes of that creature. A lizard, with its ability to regenerate its tail and move between the earth and underground, could symbolize healing, rebirth, or a connection to the underworld. These figurines may depict revered shamans in their ritual garb, their transformed state marking them as intermediaries between the human and spirit worlds. Another compelling idea is that they represent deities. The Ubaid people were among the first to practice large-scale irrigation, creating a complex relationship with the marshy, reptile-rich environment of the Tigris and Euphrates Delta. A lizard or snake god could have been a powerful symbol of the fertile yet dangerous waters that sustained their society. The breastfeeding figures, in particular, suggest a mother goddess, a nurturing protector with the ancient power of the reptile. Yet, the striking otherness of these statues has inevitably fueled more speculative interpretations. For proponents of the ancient astronaut theory, the Ubaid lizardmen are not symbolic art. They are literal representations. They propose that these figures are evidence of an advanced, non-human race that interacted with or even guided early human development. The reptilian heads are seen as accurate portraits of these visitors, and the human-like postures indicate a level of interaction and integration that challenges everything we assume about our isolated past. While mainstream archaeology dismisses this view, the figurines force a fascinating philosophical debate. When we look into the almond-shaped eyes of a 7,000-year-old statue, are we seeing the birth of symbolic thought, or are we gazing upon a forgotten face from a lost chapter of our history? The Ubaid lizardmen offer no easy answers, only a silent, stone-cold stare from a time before history was written. Off the coast of modern-day Gujarat in India, the warm waters of the Arabian Sea hide a legend. For centuries, Hindu texts have spoken of a magnificent, fortified city named Dwarka, the celestial kingdom of the god-hero Lord Krishna. The ancient scriptures describe it as a place of immense wealth, protected by towering walls and bustling with grand palaces, a city so divine it was said to have been reclaimed by the ocean upon Krishna's death. For a long time, this was considered pure mythology, a beautiful story with no basis in physical reality. Then the divers went down. In the late 1980s, marine archaeologists began to survey the seabed near the modern city of Dwarka. What they found was not a blank sandy floor, but the ghost of a metropolis. Scattered across the site were massive stone blocks, some weighing several tons, arranged in clear geometric formations. They uncovered the foundations of fortification walls, the layouts of entire buildings, and even a stone jetty or pier structure, all lying silent beneath the waves. These were not natural rock formations. The right angles and interlocking patterns spoke of deliberate, sophisticated urban planning. Alongside these structures, the seabed yielded a treasure trove of smaller, more personal artifacts. Pottery shards, some with inscriptions, were recovered, along with stone anchors that would have moored ancient ships and beads that once adorned the city's inhabitants. The most compelling evidence came from dating these finds. Thermoluminescence tests on the pottery and carbon dating of associated materials consistently pointed to a time around 1500 BC, a period that aligns remarkably well with the traditional timeline of the legendary Krishna. The discovery sends a ripple through history, forcing a re-evaluation of what we dismiss as mere fable. Was this sunken settlement the very Dwarka of the ancient epics? The sheer scale of the submerged ruins, their advanced layout, and the dating evidence all suggest a powerful maritime civilization existed here, one that perfectly matches the descriptions in the sacred texts. It presents a haunting possibility that a great city did indeed vanish beneath the sea, its memory preserved not in stone but in story, waiting for the ocean to finally give up its secret. The same hands that carved the Great Moai also left behind a different kind of mystery, one etched on wooden tablets. Known as Rongo Rongo, this intricate hieroglyphic script is the final, silent voice of Easter Island. The symbols themselves are beautiful and complex, a parade of stylized birds, celestial objects, and human figures, all arranged in a pattern called reverse boustrophedon. This means the lines of text do not run in a single direction. Instead, they read from left to right on one line, and then the tablet is flipped upside down to read the next line, also from left to right. It is a sophisticated writing system, one that suggests a deep and structured tradition of recording information. Tragically, that tradition was shattered. By the time European explorers took serious notice of the script in the 19th century, the society that created it had already collapsed. Worse still, slave raids in the 1860s captured or killed nearly all of the island's learned elite, the chiefs and priests who held the knowledge of how to read the sacred text. A cultural darkness fell, extinguishing the meaning of the symbols in a single, brutal generation. Today, only about 24 authentic Rongorongo tablets survive, and despite numerous attempts, no one has ever definitively deciphered them. The script stands as one of the world's last great undeciphered puzzles. Is it a form of genealogy, recording the ancestral lines of the great chiefs? Could it be a religious calendar, marking the cycles of ceremonies and the movements of the stars that were so vital to a seafaring people? Some researchers believe the symbols are not a full writing system at all, but a mnemonic device, a set of prompts to help a trained storyteller recall epic poems or chants. Without a living tradition or a bilingual key like a Rosetta Stone, the wooden tablets remain a locked library. They are the poignant echo of a civilization's last words, a final message carved in wood that we can see but cannot understand. What stories of rise and fall, what warnings or wisdom are contained in those elegant, unreadable lines? Far from the deserts of Egypt, a different kind of pyramid story is unfolding in the heart of Europe. In the town of Visoko, Bosnia, a series of lush, tree-covered hills have become the center of an archaeological firestorm. A businessman named Semir Osmanagic has made a staggering claim that these are not natural formations at all, but the largest and oldest pyramids ever built by human hands. He points to the Visochka hill, which he has named the Pyramid of the Sun, and argues its 4 triangular faces are precisely oriented to the cardinal directions north, south, east, and west. Proponents of the theory highlight the sheer geometric perfection of the shape, along with the discovery of what they claim are massive, man-made stone slabs and a network of underground tunnels connecting the structures. The most radical part of the claim is the proposed timeline. Osmanagic suggests these pyramids were constructed over 12,000 years ago by a lost civilization with advanced technology, a claim that would rewrite human history entirely. The evidence presented is visually compelling, with images of smooth, concrete-like blocks and subterranean passages that feel undeniably artificial. For supporters, this is a revolutionary sight that mainstream science is too rigid to accept, a hidden chapter of our past visible to anyone willing to look. The mainstream archaeological community, however, responds with overwhelming and forceful skepticism. Geologists from across Europe have examined the site and uniformly concluded that the hills are natural geological formations known as flatirons, a common result of sedimentary rock being tilted and eroded over millions of years. The so-called stone slabs are identified as natural sandstone breccia blocks that fracture into these angular shapes, and the tunnels are seen as typical karstic cave systems. Experts point out that no human remains, tools, pottery, or any other cultural artifacts have been found that would be expected at a site of such colossal construction. The European Association of Archaeologists has even issued a formal statement condemning the project as a pseudo-archaeological hoax that threatens genuine cultural heritage sites in the area. This stark division creates a fascinating modern mystery. Are we witnessing the stubborn denial of a paradigm-shattering discovery, or are we seeing how easily the human mind can find patterns and intention in the random beauty of nature? The Bosnian pyramids stand as a powerful lesson in how we interpret the past, reminding us that the line between revolutionary truth and compelling fiction is often as blurred as the outline of a hill against the sky. Within a simple wooden carving lies a puzzle that seems to defy its own time. Discovered in 1898 during an excavation of the Pardimen tomb in Saqqara, Egypt, this artifact is known as the Saqqara bird. It is a small, elegant model carved from sycamore wood dating to approximately 200 BCE. At first glance, it looks like a stylized bird complete with a beak and eyes. But its proportions are strangely off. The wings are perfectly straight and aerofoil-shaped, unlike the curved wings of a bird in flight. More strikingly, it lacks the legs you would expect, and its tail stands upright and rectangular, like the vertical stabilizer on the tail of a modern airplane. This is not a bird at rest. It looks for all the world like a model of a monoplane glider. The theory that this object represents ancient knowledge of aerodynamics was propelled into the mainstream by an Egyptian doctor and folklorist named Khalil Messiha in the 1970s. Messiha, who was also a model plane enthusiast, became convinced the artifact was a scale model of a working glider. He argued that the craftsmen of ancient Egypt would have had no reason to give a bird a thick, airfoil-shaped wing and a vertical tail fin unless they were deliberately modeling a flying machine. Proponents of this view point to ancient Egyptian mythology, which is filled with stories of flight, from the sun god Ra soaring across the sky to the symbolic Ba bird representing the soul's journey. Could this wooden model be a physical echo of that deep-seated desire to conquer the air, a technical diagram carved in wood? To test the idea, aerodynamics experts have built scaled-up, weighted replicas of the Saqqara bird. They found that with the addition of a small, horizontal stabilizer on the tail that might have broken off, the model does indeed possess stable gliding properties. It is not just a piece of wood, it is a functional design. This has led to a breathtaking possibility. Were the ancient Egyptians observing the principles of flight, perhaps experimenting with bird shapes and discovering, entirely by accident, the secrets of lift and stability? Could this little artifact be a surviving blueprint from a forgotten lineage of early aviation? The mainstream academic perspective, however, offers a much more grounded interpretation. Egyptologists largely see the Saqqara bird as exactly what it appears to be: a stylized bird, most likely a falcon, a creature deeply associated with the god Horus. The upright tail, they suggest, is not a stabilizer but a stylized representation of a bird's tail feathers, shown in a way consistent with other Egyptian art. The lack of legs is easily explained by the artifact's function. It was likely a ceremonial throw stick, a ritual object used in religious ceremonies that symbolized the king's power over chaos, often depicted as a bird in flight. Or it could simply have been a child's toy, a cherished plaything placed in a tomb for the afterlife. The idea that it is a model glider, they argue, is a classic case of pareidolia, our brain's tendency to see familiar patterns like modern aircraft in ancient objects. The truth of the Saqqara bird may never be settled. It exists in a space between our world and the ancient one, a silent wooden form that challenges our perception. Are we looking at a sophisticated aerodynamic prototype, or are we projecting our own technological achievements onto a beautiful but ordinary artifact from the past? The bird does not say. It simply waits, a timeless shape hovering between the possible and the probable, between a child's toy and a dream of flight carved 2,000 years too soon. Standing among the Karnak stones is like walking through a forest of silent soldiers. Over 3,000 prehistoric standing stones stretch across the French countryside in dense, parallel rows, some lines running for miles toward the horizon. This massive arrangement is not a random scattering but a deliberate, awe-inspiring composition erected over 6,000 years ago. The sheer scale of human effort is almost incomprehensible. Who moved these colossal granite blocks, some weighing many tons, and why did they arrange them with such geometric precision? The most enduring theory suggests the rows were a sophisticated astronomical observatory. The alignments correspond precisely with the rising and setting sun during the solstices, turning the entire landscape into a colossal calendar. A priest or elder walking these lines could have tracked the seasons, predicting the best times for planting and harvest, essentially using the earth itself to read the sky. Another compelling idea proposes the stones functioned as a massive earthquake detector. The region is laced with geological faults, and some researchers suggest the specific placement of the stones could have been designed to resonate with or even dampen seismic vibrations. a Neolithic form of early warning system rooted in an intuitive understanding of the land. Yet perhaps the most evocative theory comes from local legend. The stories say the stones are a Roman legion turned to stone by the wizard Merlin. When you view the alignment from above, the undulating rows do resemble a massive, slithering serpent. This has led to the interpretation that the entire site was a symbolic representation of a sacred snake deity, a powerful entity of the underworld and regeneration, its stone body frozen forever in the earth. Were these stones a practical tool for survival, a spiritual temple, or both? The truth is that the Karnak alignments likely held multiple layers of meaning for the people who built them. They stand not as a single question, but as 1,000 silent answers to a way of life and a view of the cosmos we can only begin to glimpse. From the silent gears of an ancient Greek computer to the unreadable wooden tablets of a lost Pacific civilization, these 25 discoveries paint a breathtaking picture of a past we are only beginning to comprehend. We have encountered cities drowned by the sea, maps of continents hidden under ice, and stones carved with a precision that defies the tools of their time. Each one of these enigmas, from the Baghdad jar that might have held an electric spark to the colossal heads of Easter Island that guard their secrets with stoic silence, stands as a powerful testament to a single, humbling truth. Human history is not a simple, linear story written in a book we have already finished reading. It is a vast, fragmented library filled with volumes we have only just found and countless others still missing, their stories waiting in the earth, the sea, and the sand. These puzzles remind us that our ancestors were every bit as inventive, complex, and profound as we are, and that their greatest achievements may still lie buried, challenging our assumptions and igniting our curiosity. So we turn this final question over to you. After this journey through the world's most baffling ruins and relics, which one of these discoveries captured your imagination and left you wondering the most? Share your thoughts in the comments below and let the mystery continue.